All right, good morning. Thank you for joining us today on such an early morning, but also a beautiful morning here in Wilmington, North Carolina. I want to welcome you to the New Hanover County Senior Resource Center. I am Amber Smith. I serve as your director for the center here, which is a multi-purpose senior center and the focal point for aging services in New Hanover County. We're excited for you to be here today. This is our very first legislative day that focuses on older adults, and we tag that as Aging Matters, because we know that aging, it does matter. It not only matters in our community, it matters from our state perspective, and it also matters on a federal level as well. Most important, it matters for you to advocate for older adults and services, but it's also important for you to learn about the various initiatives that are taking place. And so that's part of the reason why we wanted to have this event. One, for you to be able to meet your elected officials, to hear about the initiatives that are taking place to advance older adult services and programs, not only from the Senior Resource Center perspective, but from a community at large, all the great things that are taking place, but also opportunities that we have to continue to make improvements. New Hanover County is a growing population. Already 25% of our community is 60 and older. We're already in a shifting demographics where we have more individuals that are 60 and older than ages 0 to 17. So it's really important that you're here to hear about what's happening that affects our community for all ages and all stages. But before we hear from our first panelist, which we're very thankful to have our Board of County Commissioners here, I have some exciting news to share, and I do want to have Rosalie Calarco. She's the Associate State Director for AARP Coastal Region. So back on April 15th, just a couple of weeks ago, we presented to the Board of County Commissioners for a resolution, for a resolution for New Hanover County to apply to be able to join the AARP network of age-friendly communities. And what that means is there's 8 different domains in a livable community, or the age-friendly community, that affects our total livability, whether that's housing, transportation, outdoor spaces, just to name a few of those. We were granted the permission, the resolution to go ahead and apply, and just late last week we received word that New Hanover County is now officially an age-friendly community, is designated as an age-friendly community. So what this means is New Hanover County is committed to older adults. It's committed to making our community even better than what it is. So thank you for your commitment. We're excited to actually be officially named an age-friendly community. We know that we were, but now we're officially certified as age-friendly community. So thank you. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started for the reason that you're here today. But before we do that, I'm going to share a little bit of housekeeping. Bathrooms. Bathrooms are into the back of the room. Feel free, to get up and at any point that you need to use the restroom. So our county commissioners, thank you for being here. You are our first panelist. Exciting to hear what you have to share about New Hanover County. Tim Buckland, he is New Hanover County's Intergovernmental Affairs Manager, and he is going to serve as your moderator today. The questions that are going to be asked of each panelist, we're taking from questions that were submitted from you, from folks that took the time to fill out the pre-survey. So if you do have additional questions that you have, we encourage you to continue to complete that survey. We will compile those and we'll make sure that all of your elected officials do hear and see all of the questions. And before I turn it over to Tim, at the end of the event, please take time to complete the post survey, because we would like to make this an annual event, and we want to hear from you of what you enjoyed, what did you learn, what do you want to see more of. So please take the time to complete that post survey.
Good morning, everyone. And first, I'm going to prove that aging matters to me by putting on my reading glasses in order to do this. It gets better, is what I heard. Is that correct? First, for all of you, thank you so much for coming out. You are our customers, and so it's very heartening to see so many people here. We are excited to help you get to know some of your elected representatives, both locally and at the state level. As Amber said, my name is Tim Buckland, and I have the honor of serving not only as the Intergovernmental Affairs Manager for New Hanover County, but also as the moderator of today's event. While there will not be an open Q&A session with the audience today, questions being posed to our guests come from you, our Senior Resource Center's customers. Further, in your packets are the contact information for all of your elected representatives at the county, state, and federal levels. Later this morning, you'll have the opportunity to hear from North Carolina Representative Deb Butler and Senator Michael Lee, both of whom represent New Hanover County at the state level. And then finally, we will have a chance to hear from Jill Simmerman Lawrence. She is the Deputy Director for the North Carolina Division of Aging. And we have further invited all of our guests to stay afterward, if their schedules permit, to meet and greet with you. First, though, we're joined on stage by two of our county commissioners, Chair Bill Rivenbark and Commissioner Rob Zapple. Commissioners, thank you both for taking the time on a Friday morning to highlight for our audience the emphasis the board places on serving New Hanover County's aging adults. Before we start, unfortunately, some of our commissioners could not attend today's event. They asked me to send their regrets, and I'm going to read a short biography of each of them, and then we'll get into our panel discussion. First, Vice Chair Leanne Pierce was elected to serve a 4-year term from December 5th, 2022 until December 7th, 2026. She's been a resident of southeastern North Carolina all of her life, working as a hotel owner in Carolina Beach for nearly 3 decades. Her passion for serving the community started back in 2007 when she became a volunteer with the Carolina Beach Boardwalk Makeover Project, which led to her involvement with several local committees and boards before deciding to run for political office. In 2013, Leanne was elected to the Carolina Beach Town Council for the first time, and she was reelected in 2017. Then in 2019, Leanne became the first female to serve as mayor for the town of Carolina Beach. She was elected to the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners in 2022. She's an East Carolina graduate and mother of 2 sons who has spent her time in public office focusing on efforts in community revitalization, beach nourishment, public safety, and emergency preparedness, and she looks forward to continuing as an advocate for the community as a member of the Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Jonathan Barfield has been on the board since being first elected in December 1st of 2008. Additionally, he has served 4 years as chairman of the board and 3 other years as vice chair of the board. He's been a resident of New Hanover County since he was 1 year old and graduated from New Hanover High School in 1984. He's a veteran of the U.S. Navy and is the owner of Barfield and Associates Realty. He's been a licensed realtor since 1997 and served as president of the Wilmington Regional Association of Realtors in 2007. He's married to Laura Renita Barfield, a wonderful lady, I'll add, and they have 4 daughters. His favorite pastimes are reading and golf. And finally, Commissioner Dane Scalise has served as a New Hanover County Commissioner since April 17, 2023. He was appointed and unanimously approved by the Board of Commissioners following the vacancy created by the sudden passing of Commissioner Deb Hayes in March of 2023. Commissioner Scalise is a husband, father to 2 young sons, small business owner, lawyer, and an insurance broker. He grew up in Morganton, North Carolina, and is a graduate of Freedom High School, the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and the University of North Carolina School of Law. He and his wife moved to Wilmington in 2012. From 2016 to 2020, he served the people of North Carolina as Deputy Commissioner of the North Carolina Industrial Commission. He's a past fellow of the North Carolina Leadership Forum, North Carolina Institute of Political Leadership, and E.A. Morris Fellowship, and now he is a New Hanover County Commissioner. As I said earlier, joining us here on this panel. Oh, you get to do that. Hey, you volunteered. So joining us here are our chair, Bill Rivenbark, and Commissioner Rob Zapple. And first, commissioners, we'd like to invite each of you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself. And can you answer this first question? Why did you sign your name on the little form that says, I will run for public office? Why would you do that to yourself? Mr. Chair?
It's on. The first thing I want to tell you all is I would not come out of my house with these socks on because my mother taught me better than that, but I didn't crush it. I had a brand new knee put in 3 weeks ago, and I can't put my socks on by myself. So when I leave here, when I get through here, my daughter's going to be out back and pick me up and take me to physical therapy because you can't go to physical therapy dressed like this. So I got to go change, and I just didn't want y'all to think that I would show up here like that. But anyway, I first ran for the school board. I was talked into it, and they told me they had around one meeting a month, and that was the first lie they told me, because we had one meeting an hour when I left there, and it wasn't a lot of fun, and we had a problem that I needed to be on the county commission more so than I needed to be on the school board. So I ran for county commission, and I won, and I'm running again right now for the election in November. I've got 4 things that I want to finish before I leave the commission. They're very important to me. One of them is Project Grace. One of them is the 2 industrial parks that we're building. And I forgot what the 4th one was, so I need to be sitting out there instead of up here. But anyway, maybe we'll get to talk later and y'all can ask me anything you like, and I'll turn it over to my fellow commissioner, Mr. Zapple.
Well, thank you, Bill. Can everybody hear me all right? Yeah, all the way in the back there? First, thanks. I want to just take a moment and reflect on the remodeling that was done here. Those of you who have been here in the past, how about the floor, the walls, the new sound panels, the new sound system? Yeah. It has had a major facelift, and it just looks delightful, and just the color of the chairs. It just, yeah. Amber, you're in the back there. Yeah, nice job, Amber. You and your entire staff, so thank you. My name again is Rob Zapple. I have the honor and the privilege of serving you since 2014 when I was first elected. I'm a builder. I design and build custom homes. I have a small company, building company, Rob Zapple Design and Build. And also my wife and I own and run Carolina Gymnastics Academy. So some of you may have been there for birthday parties or for your grandkids or your kids and stuff like that. And we've had that organization since 1999. Michelle and I moved here with our 3 kids, 26 years ago, I guess now. And I started building and also getting involved in the community. I'm involved with a number of nonprofits, a lot of them associated with the arts and cultural world down here, especially Thalian Hall Center for the Performing Arts, which I hope many of you have been there. And I had the opportunity to be the executive director there for 18 months after the passing of longtime executive director Tony Rivenbark, who many of you, I'm sure, may have known. I was on the board, and they asked me to step up. We now have turned that over to even a much better executive director, Shane Fernando, who's doing a wonderful job there. I've also served on the board of the public radio station here, WHQR, for the past 20 years as well. But I enjoy the work that I do for you every day at the County Commission. We had a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities as we've seen this tremendous growth that I know you all have experienced. How many of you have been here for 5 years or more? Wow.
That's
All
a lot of
right.
hands.
Yeah, that is, and I'm delighted. You know that a lot of people have moved here, and especially a lot from other parts of North Carolina, from also up in New England and the Midwest, and we are delighted that they are here. How many of you moved here as a result of your children being here? Yeah, all right, yeah, we see that and we hear that story a lot, especially at UNCW, and everybody comes down on Parents' Weekend and goes, holy smokes, I kind of like this place. And then they come down around Christmas time or in the winter and go, you know, it's kind of warm and beautiful here. We think so too, so and we're trying to keep it that way as we are really taking advantage of the wonderful economic growth that we've had, you know, in this area. But it takes a lot to manage that, and that's what Chairman Bill and I and the rest of our county commissioners and our wonderful, talented staff, many of which are here today. I see Linda Thompson here, head of our DE&I program. Linda, can you raise your hand there, and so everybody can see you there? Yeah. And our county clerk, Kim Kroll, is here. Yeah. I always like to say Kim's the most famous person you don't know. And let me tell you, if you want to get anything done in New Hanover County, you go to Kim. Next to her is Crystal Whitaker, who is also works with our county manager as well. If you really want to get something done, you talk to Crystal. And I see Josh Smith over here is our communications director. Josh, raise your hand. So they've strategically placed themselves in. And do I see Betsy Graham back there? Oh, great, yeah. Betsy Graham's with Veteran Affairs back there, so that's an important part. And Tufana, thanks, Bill. Yeah, right there, sorry, I didn't mean to jump over you. One of our assistant county managers as well. I've gone down the way, of course, and we have Celeste Andrews from the City Council here. Are you right here? Yeah. And Grayson from Senator Tillis's office is also there. So raise your hand, Grayson. Yeah, so you got a powerhouse right here in this room today. I've gone on way too long, not unusual, but thank you for the opportunity, Tim.
I hope you'll allow me to tell the audience that Commissioner Zapple loves microphones.
It's part of the job.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, or I'm sorry, Commissioner Zapple, we'd like to start with you. And the question that we have, and again, all of these questions were submitted by our Senior Resource Center customers. The Board of Commissioners recently agreed, as we heard today, to have New Hanover County join the AARP Network of Aging-Friendly Communities. Can you please tell our audience why you supported it and what you hope it does for the county's aging population?
First off, what's there not to like about the AARP age-friendly community? We mentioned this before, and so I had that wonderful plaque. But one of the only reasons that we were so easily moved into it is because of the work that Amber Smith and her team did with the Master Aging Plan, which we adopted in May 17th of 2021. Again, that sounds like one of the, a boring government program, but it affects everybody in this room, the Master Aging Plan. And you can access the full document if you go to our county website, nhc.com, nhcgov.com, and then just plug in Master Aging Plan. It's really interesting, and it does exactly what, all those things we kind of complain about every day. Why can't I get around better? Geez, I could sure use some relief with, getting food, et cetera. Are there things for me to do here? Volunteer opportunities. Can I get some help with some mental health therapy for either myself or for somebody I know in my family, et cetera? These are things that are all covered in that Master Aging Plan. It's fantastic. And then one of my favorite programs to help support it that we have right here, it's unique in New Hanover County, is our adult dental program. The story I like to tell, and everybody in this room knows it, is that we spend 60, 70 years going twice a year or once a year and getting our teeth cleaned and having that done, and then all of a sudden something happens in our world. We lose a partner, or we move into a facility of some sort, or we find ourselves alone, and we stop doing that. And we think, well, what about my teeth? It just doesn't get done. And boy, there's nothing that'll get you in more trouble than ignoring your teeth, because pretty soon you start getting an ache on one side, so you're only eating kind of softer food, or you're only chewing on one side, and then you lose a tooth, and you're not able to eat the things, but you're too embarrassed to even kind of sometimes come out, because you don't look right, you don't feel right, and you just get in this decline. Well, that's changed here in New Hanover County. You come down here, you talk to Amber and her team here. We have a team of dentists here who will see you for free and get your dental needs done. Thank you. And thank you, Amber, for making that happen. It's a wonderful program, one of the many, and of course going to support our age-friendly community. Tim mentioned the 8 domains, or I think Amber did, the 8 domains that are there. They're kind of, boring government things, as you can imagine. It's on a list of stuff. But, they all cover things that are important to us. So I'm just going to give you a quick, brief, thought on them. It covers housing, outdoor spaces, transportation, communication, civic participation, social inclusion, health services, and social participation. You'll see a common theme there that a lot of us struggle with, which is the loneliness or the isolation that happens when you get older. And sometimes your kids, who are all wonderful, I've got 3 kids, they're all adults, and you know that thing when you try and call them. Of course, they never pick up anymore, and so you try and text them, and it goes unanswered for days at a time, and pretty soon you start thinking, well, what's wrong with me? And you can quickly go down a rabbit hole there. That social isolation is so important, to reach out and to find ways that you can engage in our community with other adults and other younger people as well. And that's what we do right here in the Senior Center. We are way ahead of the game in this age-friendly business. Again, I'll stop there, Tim. Thank you for the opportunity to go on. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, Mr. Chair, I hope you'll allow me to still pose the question, because believe it or not, this was the most, this question was the one that got the most submissions. So the question is, what more can be done to help support seniors who want to age at home? Ooh, I heard a murmur out there. All right.
I was just thinking just now when he was talking about being stuck at home and nobody to do for you. That's what my life has been like for the past 3 weeks, because I can't drive. And you say, I'm gonna run to the store and get some milk or run and get whatever. You don't run anywhere. You gotta call, you call somebody to come pick you up. And everybody volunteers and said, if you need anything, you call me, but when you call them, nobody answers the phone. So I'm real familiar with that now. But I was talking to Amber this morning when I first got here, and we were talking about all the things that this place does that New Hanover County does. And I don't know if all of you know it, but there's not many counties in North Carolina that do what we do. They just don't do it. A lot of, like Amber was telling me the other day that, or last week maybe, Wake County, the strongest counties in North Carolina, asked if they could come down here and let Amber and her crowd show them how to do things. That's pretty impressive. So we do.
Yeah, I agree. That deserves a round of applause.
Yes.
Well done, Amber.
But I mean, New Hanover County sets the standard for a lot of things. When we go to the national, I'm getting off a little bit, I'm gonna tell you this. When we go to the national meeting for county commissioners every year, New Hanover County wins 10 or 15 awards every year because of how we handled things, how we handled the American Rescue Plan money when we first got it, how we handled the opioid settlement, how we're the leader. We show the other counties how it's done and how we ever got there. I mean, we're the second smallest county in North Carolina, physically. And but we just got a good team, and that's why this place is here, That's why all the new stuff is here. We're committed to you folks. We are not, this will never go away. It's always going to be here. I talked to Amber. She said they had a little bit of a problem with getting grants for transportation, like when people need rides here or there, and they have to keep it down to one ride a week or whatever. But we shouldn't be doing that. We should have enough money where we can do whatever you folks need, and that's what New Hanover County is going to do. And I promise you, we will never let you down. And if you have a problem, you tell Amber, and I promise you, she'll tell us. And some of the things that we do, and we can get better, is feeding people that can't get out of the house, don't have access to a grocery store or a car to go to one. We feed people every day. We feed people here that can come here. We get people to doctor's appointments. We get people to the hospital. I mean, we get people everywhere. We need some more money for it, and we're going to get you some, I promise you. The access, we've got 3 places. I think it's Katy Hines at Carolina Beach, and we got a place up in Castle Hayne, I think, and then this place. So we're trying to spread it out. The northern part of the county is the next frontier. That's where all the growth is going. So we'll make sure there's plenty for you there. But it's a pleasure doing what we do for you, because Rob and I, we both are close to y'all's ages and older than some of you. So we're getting to a point where we're going to start coming up here and playing pool every now and then. but I just want to tell you, we always going to be behind you, and we'll take care of you. Thank you.
Tim, can I take a follow-up on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to address part of the question that you posed there on aging at home. There are a bunch of really small things that you can do. I know it seems overwhelming, and you're thinking, oh gosh, I can't remodel my entire house to age at home. Just the simple things like hand grips in strategic places, by the stairs, that 2 or 3 stairs up. Just having that. You got one of your kids, or you come here to the senior center, we'll set you up with somebody who can help install that. Or a couple of hand grips in the bathroom. It does not mean that you are handicapped. It's a safety measure to help you get something done. A ramp. Yeah, that's going to cost a little bit, but oh my gosh, it'll help you keep in that home so you don't have those stairs. As Bill was just saying, you have a new knee, or you have one accident or something, or one fall, all of a sudden stairs become mountains that you can't get up. So a simple ramp in that. And for those of you who are in a position, you can do it now rather than waiting for it. It does not mean that you are now, too old to do anything. These are just like really simple things that you can do. There's a wonderful organization called WARM here in town, WARM, and Amber and her staff can connect you with that, and they will volunteer. It doesn't cost you a thing to come in. So those things that happen in your house, a leaky ceiling, and you have those stains in your living room and the ceiling, and you think, oh gosh, I can't have anybody over, but I don't have the money to fix it. WARM comes in and fixes it and puts a little coat of paint on there. We have solutions for all of those kinds of problems. If you have a problem in your floor, it's a saggy floor. Some people actually have holes, in their bathroom where there's been a water damage and stuff like that. They'll come in and they'll fix it. There is help there for you. You just got to pick up the phone or walk in here and say, can somebody help me? We have people and resources to be able to do that. Don't let that become something that decreases the quality of your life. We're here and we can help. One more quick question. If you're a female over 60, could you raise your hand?
I thought you're not supposed to ask that question.
Yeah, well, no. And if you're a male over 60, could you raise your hand? Okay, I just wanted to do that as a demonstration of the percentage. For whatever reason, and a lot of it has to do with, our own social stigma that somehow we think that, guys are, tougher and that we're, not addressing, aging as much. If you're a female, please go up and encourage some of the guys to get involved. It's that social participation thing. And you can start with a simple hug, and it helps. I know it sounds kind of funny, but I see a couple of nodding heads there. It makes so much of a difference to encourage the guys and the girls in here to do it. So please give that a thought for the men that you see in your life. I started something. I got my whole crew over here Zen now talking. Oh Lordy, what?
Can I say one thing about that?
What's that?
Can I say one more thing about?
Oh, of course, sir. Yeah.
One thing, the builders, developers, whatever, bring plans to us of stuff they want to build. Lots of apartments. I know you've seen the apartments all over town. I've never seen anything like it. But when they plant that last azalea in front of those apartment buildings, there's a car in every driveway. And what's happening is you folks are tired of painting your house and mowing your yard, so you are moving into these apartments and selling your house for twice as what it's worth. And if you'll notice, near the apartment will pop up some storage buildings, because you don't want to give your stuff away. You want to pay $500 a month so you can go look at it once a month. But what's happening with these apartments is they're trying to make it so inclusive that you don't have to leave. They have walking paths, they have pools, they have exercise rooms, they have everything. And then a lot of them we're encouraging to build out by the road, like little small restaurants or a dry cleaner or this or that, so you don't have to go do that. So those are some of the things that we encourage. We can't make the builders do that, but they like it because y'all like it, and it's working out pretty good. Okay.
Well, Mr. Chair, you may not have realized this, but you gave us a perfect segue into another question I'd like you, Commissioner Zapple, to take a swing at. And this was another very popular submission by our customers. And that is, what is being done in New Hanover County to address the affordable housing issue? See, more murmurs. I like it.
I think we've already touched on a number of things, and Chair Rivenbark here has just mentioned that. I know that we have a specific project, or two projects that are going ahead. The Starway project here in the city, it'll be over there on Carolina Beach Road. It'll bring 279, thank you, Councilwoman Slett. It's a partnership between the city and the county and the federal government with low-income tax credits. Again, boring bureaucratic stuff. The end result will be 279 apartments that will be made affordable. There's a whole formula that you go into here, but you crunch it all down. We're talking about apartments that will go for between $400 and $600 a month. These are good, brand new apartments. Yeah, I know. You look at me like, what's he saying? Yeah. It's the truth. And I don't know if the reservation for those, that is out yet. It will be soon. If it's not, Celeste, are they taking, we don't know. Yeah, we just started the groundbreaking on it. There's also another project that's up on Middle Sound Loop Road, one of the most desirable places to live in New Hanover County, that we partnered again with a group that brought in, it's called Canopy Place. Just as you turn off of Market Street, you're going on Middle Sound Loop Road, on your left-hand side there, 55 apartments that are all geared for 55 and older. And because they're built with low-income tax credits, again, apartments that will be available they're already in because they're up and going, between $400, $600, and depending on the size, up to $800 a month. That's part of the solution. Another part, which is what we're working on, as it's a multifaceted problem, is how to keep people in their homes now. So remember what I was just saying a few minutes ago, organizations like WARM, W-A-R-M, and others are working to do the remodeling to make aging in place so you don't have to give up your house and move to an apartment. And the city and the county are working on projects where we're trying to buy groups of houses that where people have, for whatever reason, have gone, do the repairs on them, and keep them in the affordable housing market, so that your government can help subsidize that. As long as you stay there and you don't just try and flip it and try and make a profit on it, you can stay in your in a house, in a modest house here in our community. Those are that's another one part of the solution. So more apartments that don't require as much maintenance, et cetera. Also getting into houses and keeping our housing stock. That's the existing houses. And why is that important? Because that's the cheapest way to deal with the affordable housing. Not build it brand new, but take advantage of those houses that are there. Bring them up, to standard-wise there, and let people stay in there at a very modest amount of money. That's still not going to do it. You've heard in the paper, that we are, close to 10,000 units. That's a house or an apartment short of what we need for affordable housing here in New Hanover County alone. And that, of course, is echoed out throughout our entire state. It's a huge problem. I can assure you, though, that every day we have an entire department at New Hanover County that we started as we made a commitment as a commission to put $3 million a year into finding the best ideas on how to approach this and to make those investments with those builders and those developers at $3 million a year. The commitment is over 5 years, so that's $15 million, so that we can find the best ways to get the most units here on the ground for our aging population. I mean, Amber, you kicked us off here earlier. It's worth repeating that our population here in New Hanover County is now, there are more people 60 plus than there are 0 to 18 years. So from a governmental point of view, that is a huge red flag. Everybody's got to live someplace. And we want you to live someplace. We don't want you to live in a crappy place. We want you to live in some place where you're comfortable and you can get the things done and you can be proud of where you live. So Bill and I get it. Excuse me, Chairman Rivenbark and myself. Yeah, okay, just Bill. We get it, and we're working hard. So those are, 3 specific things that we're doing here with the apartments, trying to buy up properties there, and then, of course, our fund, the $15 million. And I guarantee you, when we figure out after the 5-year period, we're 3 years into it, when we find the one that is working the best, we're going to turn around and we're going to double the amount of money that we put into it. That's how important this issue is to us, the housing issue.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Just one more thing.
Sure.
Everybody knows somebody that lives in Charlotte or Raleigh or Atlanta or Detroit, New York City. None of them live downtown Raleigh or downtown Charlotte. They live on the outskirts. And we don't have a whole lot of property left in Hanover County. I mean, it's just a little tiny piece, and it's precious what the people want for it. We're running water and sewer to the rest of the county, which means that's where all the growth is going to go, and the property values are going to go through the roof. So it wouldn't be unheard of to live in Pender County or Brunswick County. You could live in Pender County and be at work in 12 minutes, 15 minutes with I-40. So that's something that probably, I won't be around when it happens, but that's going to happen someday. We're going to build out to where there's nowhere else to build. Okay.
And so before we take a break in the day's festivities, Commissioners, we have one more question for each of you, and it's a narrowly tailored question, and it is, what is one thing you hope today's audience takes away from today and the importance the county places on its aging adult population? So one thing you hope everybody takes away.
I hope that every person in here understands that New Hanover County cares about our people, and we're going to take care of you. We're not going to throw you by the side of the road. We're going to take care of you and do what we have to. And in a lot of cases, we have to do it with a limited amount of money. But we are committed. I'll guarantee you, Commissioner Zapple and We won't go away. We'll be right here to take care of you. So if anybody that's here, I want them to know that Bill Rivenbark and Rob Zapple said that. Thank you.
We have a saying in New Hanover County, our county manager does, that we only hire the best and the brightest at New Hanover County. At first I thought that was just, kind of a catchphrase. But I know now, after serving for well over 10 years, it is absolutely the truth. We have many of them here in this room that are here, which I think kind of makes a statement that how important the issue is and the issues that we're talking about here today with being an age-friendly community. We are committed, and we do have the best and the brightest. The thing that we need from you is your input. So I know that some of you, and you grew up to be polite, and you thought, oh man, I can't call Bill Rivenbark, and his schedule is so busy, or I can't call Rob Zapple. That's baloney. You see me in Harris Teeter, come up and slug me in the arm and say, hey, I saw you over there at the Senior Center, and here's the problem I'm having. That's why we're elected, because I'm going to take that and I'm going to run it over to our staff over here and say, here's the problem. And they go to work on it, and we come up with solutions. Do not be afraid or embarrassed to engage. You can find all of the commissioners on the New Hanover County website, nhcgov.com, or Amber can put you in touch with any of us. It's really simple. You click on the commissioners and you have pictures of us. You just click on one of the pictures and it gives you the contact information. And I mean it. And I know it works because some of you here and a whole lot of other people, have my cell phone number, and and they call me all the time. And it's really helpful. It's what makes our community work. We need your input, and specifically on this, the aging issues that we've talked about, briefly here. I mean, we've just touched the surface of the stuff that's happening in your life, but we can't help if we don't hear from you. So please reach out, and myself and Bill's going off to physical therapy, but we'll hang around as long as we can. And grab me here, and I'll give you my cell phone, and we can continue this conversation. So that's really the main takeaway from here is reach back this way, even though we're just kind of pushing it out this way from the stage at this point. And I thank everybody for being here and taking the time to engage in this, and you're going to hear a whole lot more through the rest of the day. And again, thank you, Amber, for putting this whole thing together.
Commissioner, what I heard is that one thing you should take away is punch Rob Zapple. Is that what I heard?
Now, I wanted to say, everybody, y'all need to thank God y'all got Amber, because everybody else doesn't. She's good. And the other thing I want to say is, I wanted y'all to know I do not have a bag of marbles in my mouth. I just talk like this. So, make sure.
All right, well, folks, can we please give our commissioners a round of applause? Thank you very much. And programmatically, please don't leave. We have 2 more panels coming up. So we've got cookies back there, water, get yourself a refreshment, and we're going to pick things back up at 10 o'clock with a couple of our state legislators. Thank you. Well, welcome back, everybody. Can everyone hear me? Perfect.
We're talking about you, Rob.
We were.
There's a saying in my line of work, when the politicians are shaking hands, you don't interrupt them.
That's the truth. As if you don't recognize that.
Well, thank you everybody again for being here and for not leaving. I appreciate that. Well, with us today, we have two members of our delegation to Raleigh. This is State Senator Michael Lee and Representative Deb Butler. Representative Ted Davis wanted to be here and sends his regrets. He also represents New Hanover County at the General Assembly. And he asked me to read this, if you'll allow me, before we get into our quick Q&A with Senator Lee and Representative Butler. He said, please give the attendees my apology. And wait a minute, I said earlier, I better put my eyeballs on. I would appreciate it if you could ask them for a list of things that they specifically would like the legislature to address. Send it to me, and I will see what I can do on their behalf. And the senator asked, can we add to that list? And so you have his contact information in your packet. Feel free to email him directly. Well, so Senator and Representative, what we'd like to start with today is ask you to tell the audience a little bit about yourselves, your personal life and your professional life, and then you've got to answer the question I think most people are dying to hear an answer to, and that is, why on earth would you do this to yourself and get into public service? And Senator, if we could, we'll start with you.
Oh, that last question was a tough one. So I'm Michael Lee. My wife and I have been here in Wilmington. I've been here on and off since 1986. We've raised 4 children here. Our youngest is 17. Our oldest is 24 as of last week. And I originally got involved in public service really when my now 24-year-old was going into kindergarten. So I've been doing this for quite some time, although I've been in the Senate for 4 terms, 2 years each. Started out by running for school board and being active and involved in a number of other things. And so the reason I really am passionate about public service really relates to education, not just kind of where I started, which was really elementary education, but really all the way through workforce, post-secondary, and that's really kind of what I focus on.
And Senator Lee is known for not wearing socks, which I think is just a brave statement at any time.
You know, Representative Butler.
Just don't be around when I take my shoes off. It's not.
Hey, the good news is we're able to tease each other about that. Okay, so my name is Deb Butler, and I have been serving as a representative to this community since appointed by Governor Cooper in 2017. And have won elections, of course, thereafter. I am a lawyer by education. I am a native North Carolinian. My parents were, we lived in places like High Point and Lincolnton and Morganton. I often say that I'm a product of the North Carolina furniture industry because my father worked at what were our former important industry in this community in furniture. It doesn't much exist any longer. You'll all know that many of those jobs were outsourced overseas, but if you name a point on Interstate 40, I probably know it. I went to law school at Wake Forest. My father played football there, and he used to tell me back when Wake Forest had a football team, but obviously they've gotten pretty good actually in recent years. So I'm ACC all the way. I have made my home in the historic district of downtown Wilmington since about 1994. I have lovingly restored innumerable properties that I love to take a sow's ear and make a silk purse out of it if I can. And public service is one of those things that came a little bit later in life for me because quite fortunately, quite naturally, I just didn't have the resources. Public service takes a big financial commitment. I was young, I was earning a living, I don't come from a wealthy family, and I just didn't have the resources or the time to commit to it. I always cared about it, but just was not something I was able to do. As of about the age of 53 or so, I started thinking, I think I can accommodate this into my life now. And I realized just important it was for particularly young ladies to have good, strong role models in governance. And so took the plunge and took the job when Governor Cooper offered it to me. Thanks.
Outstanding, outstanding. Yeah. And so, Senator and Representative, these are questions that were actually submitted by perhaps some of the folks in this room. And we'll start with this one, and we'd like each of you to be given the opportunity to answer each question. The first one is, what initiatives has the North Carolina legislature initiated to support aging adults? And Representative Butler, we'll start with you on that one.
Well, I think it's honest to say not enough, quite frankly. We do have a standing committee in the North Carolina House of Representatives on aging. And I served on that committee for one term, and there were no bills that came to that committee, and so we actually did not even meet one time during the session that I served on that committee. And that's very regrettable. But what I will say is this: that doesn't mean that people don't care. It just means that certain issues didn't come to pass. Much of the lead on aging, as you know, takes place at the federal level because of Medicare. The dollars, come from the federal government in large measure, and so therefore a lot of the policy is dictated in that way. But I will say that that's changing. I do believe that you will see, and you'll hear later from the Department of Health and Human Services, just how focused they are. We know, of course, that the demographics are changing rapidly. And by 2024, the elderly population, and I'm loath to use that word because I'm just right at the cutoff, for that definition. But we know that that population is going to exceed that of our younger citizens, and it already does in North Carolina. So you're going to see a quantum shift, I think, in focus, and in fact, it's already begun. In preparation for this meeting, I went and did a little research to understand just how many states had begun formulating master plans to tackle this issue. Colorado, Massachusetts, Texas, other places, 4 or 5 states have already done and developed a master plan. And in that preparation, I learned so has North Carolina. And in fact, the plan was due on Governor Cooper's desk yesterday. Did you get it there?
Progress report?
Great. So that's great news, folks. That's great news because it took a long time, many focus groups, and I'm sure the representative from DHHS is going to talk about this at length. But progress is being made, and now we are at the point where we're going to start measuring metrics, right? We're going to see in these next 2 years if their identified goals, right, and their strategies for accomplishing these goals, whether we have a nexus and whether we have metrics that prove success. So stand by, because 2 years from now, we should really have some good data to drive the discourse.
All right, Senator, do you need me to repeat the question?
Sure.
What initiatives has the North Carolina legislature initiated to support aging adults?
So I think there's a couple different things with skilled nursing rates and other rate increases, but if we kind of take a step back, I did some research as well, and the Division of Aging and Adult Services, I think the budget in 22-23 was around $171 million, and so that's just one kind of division. A lot of times, I personally have not really thought about all the other aspects of aging and services that are provided. And I pulled a report, and I mistakenly just hit print. And after I got to about 400 pages, because it was a county-by-county breakdown, I was trying to delete the print to stop. And so I just got New Hanover County, and I think the number is around $88 million. And it comes not just from Division of Aging, it's DOT, it's Medicaid, it's a lot of different areas. And as we talk about kind of an aging population, I think in North Carolina, one of the things, and it'll probably be in the roadmap or the master plan, is that we have got not just an aging population of North Carolinians. I think in 2022, when I pulled some of the statistics, we had almost 50,000 people over the age of 60 migrating to the state of North Carolina. And so I know that they're thinking probably as part of this plan, it's not just our current aging population, it's the migration, the in-migration that's coming in. And as we all know, a good part of that is coming to southeastern North Carolina, and part of it's going to our mountain region. I really don't know if they're going to Raleigh, so probably not. And so those are some of the things that we're looking at as well. I think the aging in place part is going to be significant. My mom is 80 years old. She's just visiting us. She has a place here. She's been up in Virginia with my brother because she's had to have a couple procedures done. And she was down here visiting us, and she took a really bad spill. And we ended up in the hospital, and then we ended up in inpatient therapy, physical therapy, and she finally got out. And we really do need to find a better way for in-home care. And I think we certainly need to explore, family care reimbursements for family that is taking care of parents. My father's from Taiwan. He immigrated here when he was in his late 20s, early 30s. And in the Asian culture, family really took care of family. And that actually is going in the wrong direction right now in a lot of ways. But we've got to find ways to support families, to be able to keep families together, multi-generational households. And that's not something we're really doing anything on. So to say we're doing a bad job is an understatement. And so I think those are some of the things that I personally am interested in looking at. Shame on me for it not happening until I had this experience with my mom. But I do think we need to be looking at that.
Well, you must have been reading ahead, Senator, because you actually touched on the most popular submitted question we had. And so we'll just dive right in, and I'm going to let you take this one first, if that's okay.
Uh-oh.
What more can the state do to support seniors who want to age at home?
Yeah, and so I think we do have some services that are available, some through federal dollars, some through block grants. And so there are some services. And in that 88 million, that number I gave you, I don't have the specific breakdown as of what that equates to. But I think that one of the things that we need to be looking at, I just mentioned it, is reimbursement rates for family caregivers. I know that we are looking at it, and I'm not sure if we've actually crossed the Rubicon on that for IDD individuals of any age. But that's something else that's incredibly important as well. Not only is it important to be able to age in place with quality of life and being around family, is we just don't have enough people. So we can increase, caregiver rates every single year, but we don't have the workforce, especially with the in-migration on top of the baby boomers. And so I think this is this is one of those things that's kind of a win-win. We can't train a workforce fast enough. I mentioned in my introduction that I'm really engaged and involved in education, workforce development. We've been trying to find all kinds of ways to incentivize folks to go into allied health for caregiving, and all the way up from CNA 1-2s that you see in the long-term facilities, along with LPNs, RNs, and that kind of thing. But I think the silver bullet, not a silver bullet, but something to really help us is going to be with family caregiver rates.
Great. Representative Butler?
Yeah, so I'll just not repeat what the senator has said. I think a couple of things come to mind. One is, and he touched on this briefly, we've got to develop a career stepladder for caregivers. We've got to pay them more, we have to train them better, and we have to remove the stigma from that career path. We don't have enough workers, and because it's a thankless task in large part. We don't train people well, and we don't pay them well. So we do need to establish a career ladder, for lack of a better word, for those caregivers. And then I think the other thing we have to do is begin to incentivize or motivate or invite employers to recognize that people that work for them have responsibilities at home too, caregiving. To develop a flexibility around, and I think it's a great time to do it, frankly, because if COVID taught us anything, it's that you can work from home sometimes effectively, and you can be productive. So if we can encourage employers to say, listen, let's get a flex schedule going for you. Let's recognize that you have aging parents. It's going to treat citizens with dignity. It's going to improve their quality of life, and it is definitely going to save money in the long run. Telling stories about your family, Senator. My father, likewise, was at Trinity Grove. Many of you probably know Trinity Grove here locally. Just the finest facility in the world, but a facility nonetheless. And as well as they could do the job, and people were compassionate, it was clean, the food was good. I spent a lot of time there. but it still wasn't home. And my father is a mountain man, was a mountain man. He's deceased now. But he was a mountain man, and he wanted to be able to go outside and look at the birds. And it just wasn't the same there. So whatever we can do to keep people at home, we've got to try. Thanks.
And I think one other thing that that I think we've done is companion care kind of fell under a regulatory environment that made it very very difficult to have companion care, and then so that's non-certified type care, and it kind of fell under that. And so one thing that we've done over the years is to kind of reduce that kind of identify what it is. It's companion care rather than medical care or health care. And so reducing some of the regulations around that has enabled companion care to be a lot less costly and also increase the availability of the workforce.
Great, thank you, thank you. Next question, and I think we'll start with you, Representative Butler, this time. Do you have a specific legislative priority that you believe would benefit aging adults and that you would like to share today?
You know, I really want to see us get a hold of these prescription drug prices. I'll name drop pretty hard right here. I was with President Biden yesterday. Wow, that's the first time I've ever gotten to say that. And probably the last.
I wasn't invited for some reason.
But in any case, he talked an awful lot about the strides forward the federal government has made, particularly in the areas of insulin costs. The price of insulin historically was around $400 a month. They've got it down to like $35 a month. And Big Pharma is still making a profit because it only takes them $10. It only costs them $10 to make insulin. So we've got to get a hold of that. So this is what I would like to see happen. And I want to give credit where credit is due. We have a Republican in charge of the state employees health plan. And he has been advocating with, or negotiating, I should say, with directly with drug manufacturers to try to lower prices on some of the medications that the state health plan, anyway, provides. That doesn't help everybody, but it's a template for how we can do it. Now, you recognize, of course, and I'll talk a little bit here about Medicare, because first of all, that applies to everybody probably in this room, and I'm on the cusp of it. You realize that when doctors prescribe medications, their reimbursement rate right now is the cost of the drug plus 6%. Now, this is my understanding. Again, I'm not an expert in this field, but this is my understanding. And so what does that mean? That means they're motivated to prescribe the most expensive drug, right? So that's bad, for obvious reasons. So there is a move afoot to change that formula to a more weighted formula that would allow a physician to prescribe anything that is clinically comparable in the same category, give them more flexibility, and they would be reimbursed at the weighted average of that group of medications, okay, instead of like a commission. Can you imagine if your realtor who's getting a commission got to pick the house you were going to buy? They would obviously choose the most expensive house, wouldn't they? So we need to change that formula, and I think we can do that by advocacy with both the federal government, with our local partners, and I think that's a good first step on controlling medication costs.
Senator?
Legislative priorities, is that the question?
Yes, what do you have a specific legislative priority that you believe would benefit aging adults and that you would like to share today?
Yeah, I think it just kind of falls along the lines of caregiver rates, so family caregiver rates. We're now in the short session, which is hopefully going to be a real short session.
I was going to ask you about that because you would know.
I'm hopeful it's going to be a really short session. As y'all know, we have a 2-year biennium. We pass a budget in the first year. That's a long session. Unfortunately, it was really, really long last year. I think we were wearing costumes at Halloween. We were there so long. End of the fiscal year is beginning July 1. In the short session years, we kind of tweak the budget. There's some policy. but the majority of it is made to tweak the budget because we pass a 2-year budget. And so hopefully we'll be out in about 6 weeks at the end of June is the goal, and have a tweaked budget by the middle of June. So the short session, we won't really be doing a lot of that, but some of my long-term policy is in the idea of family caregiver rates. Again, for adults that want to age in place, it's also a priority for me on the IDD population of any age, which I think is incredibly important for all the reasons that we've already talked about. Being able to age in place is incredibly important for lots of reasons. It's also a smart, efficient way to be able to age, and then also just the other benefits of having family to be able to financially be able to provide that caregiving.
Great.
Let
Thank
me
you
add
both.
one thing quickly, Tim, that I wanted to mention, because I care so much about the cost of these medications. Are you guys aware, when Merck or whomever is developing a new medicine, they spend an enormous amount of money doing that, in all fairness, in research and development. And when they do that, they are allowed a period of time after they have gotten their approval from the FDA that allows them to market their product without competition, right, from any generics of that particular medication. And that makes sense to a point, because we want to incentivize, we want to motivate these companies to come up with new cures and new medications. But they should not be able to profiteer from it in a prolonged fashion. And what they're doing, and there is a cutoff already, but like so many they probably have a lot of smart lawyers in their midst, and even though they are permitted to market to a certain point, they've come up with a technique, and if you research this, it's called evergreening. Have you heard about this? So, in other words, I'm Merck, I develop a new heart medication, and I spend a fortune doing it, and now I've got it approved, and I have unfettered marketing for 3 years, or whatever the term is. And then at that point, other people could produce generics and have competition exist to drive the price down. But what they are doing is, just right before the expiration of their exclusivity period, they come up with a little wrinkle, a little adjustment. So in other words, now they come up with the time-released version of the pill, thereby extending their exclusivity and avoiding that competition. That should not be allowed. Because with competition, prices are driven down, right? We know that. And so that's something I would like to get involved in and try to advocate for. And again, on the state level, it's very difficult to do that, but our state treasurer, Falwell, is very interested in advocating on this front. So I might have to team up with him to do that.
Yeah, and I agree with Representative on a number of issues, and the combination of the treasurer's ability to manage the capacity going through the system, the state health plan, together with the Medicaid expansion is hopefully going to be driving down costs for everyone. There's not a lot we can do on the state level. Some of it relates to, I mean, not to get too deep in the weeds, but PBMs, pharmaceutical benefit managers, there's lots of things that are going on kind of from a regulatory framework that on the state level we can, tweak a little bit here and there. But again, most of this kind of happens at the federal level, except to the extent that we have these large abilities to negotiate, again, Medicaid, state health plan, that helps to drive the cost down. One of the issues that I had early on, my son has an EpiPen, and many of you know a number of years ago, the EpiPens were the cost just went out of this world, and then the availability kind of dried up, and I'm not sure if that was real or not, but and so those are the kinds of issues we really need to address. Nutrition supplements is another issue. A lot of people don't really talk about or think about, and the cost and expense. My son is tube fed, and he's 17 years old, but he needs this nutritional supplement, and it is just incredibly expensive. It's not covered by insurance, and so I haven't looked into it, but I'm wondering if the same issues are occurring for those who are aging in place. My mom has certain supplements as well. So those are the kinds of things I think we need to kind of expand beyond, advocate on the federal level to the extent we can, but also take a look at some of these other things that we may not be top of mind all the time, but that we can kind of dig in a little bit.
All right, thank you. I hope that both of you will entertain our audience with one final but very, I think, easy question, and that is, what's one takeaway you hope they get from this event and from hearing from you today? And Senator, I think we'll start with you and wrap up with you, Representative Butler.
To know that we're accessible and available, and to know that we care, and that we don't know everything. There are times that things are going on that we just don't know about because they're just, state government, it has broad reach. When I talked to you earlier, didn't realize the breadth of funding. I looked for a Division of Aging and Adult Services. That was where I went to look at funding. But then when I pulled up one of the reports and it brought in all the other funding from the different agencies, both state and federal, it gave me a little bit different perspective. So if there's something going on, God bless you, if there's something going on that you don't think we know about, or maybe we don't know enough about, hopefully you'll take away from this to reach out to us, because we really do need to know if something's happening. So,
Representative?
Yes, well, thank you so much for allowing us to be here. I tell you, I am reminded of, you remember when you were growing up and one parent could work and provide for your home, and the second parent could be at home taking care of everything else. And you remember when companies had pensions and profit sharing and insurance and all that good stuff? At some point, and I think it was in the 70s and in the 80s, corporations got out of the habit of taking care of employees and cared more about shareholders. And that's a crime in this country, because we don't have the resources to age in place that we once had. We don't have the backstop of pensions and profit sharing and that sort of stuff. So unfortunately, we are going to have to educate people that they've got to save more money on their own. Until we can put the pressure on corporations to do what's right by their employees, we need some fiscal literacy. And we're going to have to teach young people to save more money. I hate it, but it's true. We have to save more money. And we're going to have to understand that there are resources out there. So we have to educate people that there are resources available, and we have to continue to advocate strongly. I'm going to tell you something. One thing I do want you to take away is that whatever you care most about, if you join an organization, and AARP is a powerful one, and you get involved with them and help them advocate for senior issues, they are very effective. I mean, when they come to see you, you're there, right? Me too.
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
got my little
So
card.
why? Older folks vote. They have a powerful voice. And I guess my final word would be, you have the power, use it.
And you can join at 50 now.
I can do,
'Cause
yeah.
I'm a member.
I'm a member, yeah.
Is that true? October's
Yeah.
my 50th
Oh,
birthday.
they'll
All right.
send you.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me, you'll
get
the
a card
mailers.
6 months before that birthday.
My wife
boy.
handed me the mailer.
Oh,
Said,
yeah.
Here you go.
Sad but true.
Well, folks, could we please give our guests a nice round of applause? Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Representative, for joining us today. This has been a really good, robust discussion. Folks, once again, please do not leave. We have one more guest to hear from today. And in about 15 minutes, we'll hear from Jill Simmerman Lawrence. She's the Deputy Director of the Division of Aging. And we're going to have a nice, robust conversation to finish our day. So we'll see you in 15 minutes. Get a cookie, get some water, use the restroom, dance a little, whatever you want to do. Well, welcome back, everyone. This is our final segment, and I'm delighted to welcome Jill Simmerman Lawrence. She is the Deputy Director of the North Carolina Division of Aging, and I'm going to put my eyeballs back on it. Ma'am, I think the person who told me that my eyesight would get better with age was the same liar who told me when I was having kids that babies were easy. And so, Jill, welcome to New Hanover County. And is it okay if I call you Jill, or would you prefer Director Simmerman Lawrence, would you prefer, hey, you?
Definitely Jill.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming here and engaging directly with our customers today. So what we'd like to start with is, can you just give a brief introduction of yourself and answer this question: why did you decide to enter public service? And can you please give us a brief overview of the Division of Aging and its role in serving our aging adults?
Absolutely. I'm Jill Simmerman Lawrence. I am the Deputy Director for the Division of Aging. I have some notes here. Tim gets notes. I decided I got notes because it's so important what I get to share with you today. So it's a pleasure to be here. I am a servant leader at my core, and I've always loved helping people and kind of being part of a team. And I think that public service is really the ultimate team sport. I took kind of a Goldilocks approach to come to state government. I went to school at UNC. Do we have any Tar Heels? Any Tar Heels? Ooh, a half raise in the back. Okay, well, we'll make sure it's just friendly fire. After I did my undergrad and graduate degrees at UNC, I went into the western part of North Carolina to work for 10 counties and their local health departments. And what I was doing there was really thinking about how do we move our health departments from direct care work and shift them to thinking about how do we transform communities so that the good choice is the easy choice for all communities, so all communities have access. And I really liked that work, but it wasn't quite scalable enough. It wasn't big enough for me. So I thought, okay, next, let's go to Washington, D.C. Let's start at the top. And I worked for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I worked for the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. I supported work at the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. And I realized that that work was really, really too big. It was too slow. So I had gone too unscalable, too big of a scale. And about 2.5 years ago, I came to the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, and I just love my work here. So I love that I can listen to communities. We can work together to think, what are the policies and procedures at the state level that are really going to make a difference to local people, to the people I grew up with? And so I get to influence health policy to really make sure that what we think we're doing, we're able to implement on the ground and make sure that everyone is able to live a healthy, thriving life. And so I've decided that right now, state government is just right for me.
Well done. Today actually comes on the heels of some breaking news from yesterday that our previous panel kind of touched on, as Governor Cooper received the All Ages, All Stages North Carolina Progress Report. Could you please give the audience an overview of the plan and some of its goals?
Yeah, I would love to. So 1 year ago, the governor of North Carolina, much like your county commissioners, designated North Carolina as an age-friendly state. And through that executive order, he also asked all the cabinet agencies to really start forward planning for our older adult population. And he charged the Department of Health and Human Services for starting what y'all call a master aging plan. We call it a multi-sectorial plan on aging. And what does that, yeah, I know, lots of syllables. Love to complicate something. So what does that mean? We know at the Department of Health and Human Services, it's not just us that impact the lives of older adults. We have to think about transportation. We have to think about administration. We need to think about the Department of Labor. And so over the past year, we've been working to, and before that, we've been working to bring all these groups together to really think about how do we make sure that government is ready for our growing older adult population. So yesterday, the governor received a progress report to say, like, what's been going on, what have we done? And in that progress report, we really talk about what led up to the executive order, what we've done this past year, and what we're going to do. What are our next steps? And as y'all have heard, North Carolina is an older adult state. We're actually we have the 9th largest population of people 60 and older in the nation. By 2025, 1 in 5 people in North Carolina will be over 65. And in 2031, across our whole state, the aging population will outnumber our younger population. So I'm so thankful and so glad that people are living long, strong lives, but we have to make sure that our infrastructure, our economy, and government are really ready to support our growing older adult population so that we can thrive in the communities where we live. So our plan focuses on 4 main areas, and we had input from over 3,500 people. So, number 1, we're looking at affording aging. That's both an individual, making sure individuals can afford their longer life, but also how is the government going to afford to support all of our older adults? The second thing that we're doing is optimizing health and well-being. We want to make sure that everyone can access people-centered care so that they can optimize their life expectancy and their quality of life. We want to live long and strong lives. Third thing we're looking at is strengthening communities for a lifetime. We want to focus on creating communities, neighborhoods, and homes that support thriving through all ages and all stages. And then fourth, we're supporting older adults and their families to ensure that individuals, their caregivers, and their families have the supports and resources that they need to stay in their homes as they age. The next step that we're taking in the plan is that we're really socializing and prioritizing the recommendations that we received from key stakeholders. We've received over 150 recommendations. And so we're really focused on what are the recommendations that we can do today so that we can get some momentum going, and then what are the recommendations that are going to be so impactful, they might take a long time, but we've got to do them because it's the right thing to do for our communities. At the department, we really believe that the All Ages, All Stages North Carolina plan will truly be our roadmap for aging and living well in North Carolina. I'm so excited, and I look forward to how each of you, the city, our beach towns, our county, will also embrace this plan and our opportunities to create communities where we all want to live and thrive. So thanks.
Excellent, thank you. The audience might not yet be aware of this, but you're from New Hanover County.
I am.
And I understand that you'd like to say hi to Mom and Dad.
Hey!
Yeah, can we give them a round of applause? And Mom and Dad, thank you for sharing your daughter with us today. But would you be willing to speak on to how New Hanover County Senior Resource Center, the building we are in, serves and supports its customers?
Absolutely. So I am born and raised in Wilmington. I grew up right behind the college, and it's a real pleasure to be back and to be able to share my experience from the state and share it with the community that I love so very much. So I really am excited about this opportunity to brag on the New Hanover County Senior Center as well as your county commission. I was talking with some of my colleagues before I came, and I was like, what do you think about New Hanover County? How's it going? And they just could not stop raving about the services that are offered here. It is unique. Your Senior Center is really a gold standard across the state. That was not someone just saying that. I'm not just saying that. You all really have a lot of opportunity. And I'm going to go over about 3 programs that I think are just phenomenal and that you don't see in other places. I do want to say Amber Smith has gotten a couple shout outs, but she is just such a visionary. She's doing really great work, and the whole staff is making sure that you use your resources as best as possible and that we're serving the people of New Hanover County. So I think providing good services always starts with strong planning. You all have really done a great job with your inaugural master aging plan, and you just didn't do it and put it on the shelf. That's so easy to do. Like, you write this plan and then you put it on the shelf and you never look at it again. Y'all are really living the values and objectives that you put into the plan. So first, you're on the cutting edge of providing behavioral health supports to older adults. Older adults are the most likely group to commit suicide, but it's really not talked about very often. And your senior center, with the support of your county commissioners, piloted an older adult mental health program staffed by a licensed clinical therapist at the senior center. And so folks can come in and be seen, talk with their therapist. And then the great thing is that the Senior Resource Center is a great place to get other resources, connect with community, and really build those networks and bridges that make sure that we're not burdened by social isolation. It's gone so well that your county commission is continuing to fund this program, and that's really the only one that I know of in the state. Second, your master aging plan included addressing food insecurity and malnutrition among older adults. The State Division of Aging, through our federal allocation, sends money down to your area agency on aging, who then sends it to the county to deliver food, either in congregate, which is like a group setting, so at the senior center often, or home delivered meals. This is your Meals on Wheels program. There was a wait list in New Hanover County for that, and your county commission, in conjunction with your senior center, said that's unacceptable. We need to serve all hungry older adults. And the county commissioner said, yep, that's right. They funded this program even more, so they give extra money to the Senior Resource Center. Your Senior Resource Center figured out how to make it happen, and you have no one on your waiting list. You've increased by 200% the number of older adults that are receiving meals, and that is just foundational, great community work.
Is that maybe an opportunity for applause? I don't know.
Yeah. And then it was touched on earlier by Commissioner Zapple, your mobile adult dental clinic, to really address the needs of not being able to afford dental care as an older adult, but it being essential to health. These outcomes really represent a whole of government approach, and you can see it in the way that you plan the city. I think about the Cross City Trail, which goes right by my parents' house. It's accessible to everyone, and it really, New Hanover County is so inviting to people to be active, to be in the community, and I think that's something to really be proud of, and it's something I'm proud of. So a big cheers to the Senior Resource Center and to all that your government is doing for you.
Well, it seems like our audience agrees. Thank you, thank you. Last year, North Carolina implemented Medicaid expansion. Now, while I know it's a huge topic, can you please touch on it and please tell our audience about the importance of Medicaid expansion?
Absolutely. I am so proud to be part of the administration that expanded Medicaid. Now, I want to go over, what does it mean that we expanded Medicaid? What's that catchy phrase mean? It means that some people aged 18 to 64 who previously weren't eligible for Medicaid because they made too much money may be eligible for Medicaid now. They may be able to get health insurance. And what does it mean, they have higher incomes? Now, we're talking about individuals that a single individual home, their income would be about $21,000. Or a family of 4, you're looking at an income of $43,000. I would really call this the working poor. These are people that are working every single day to make their ends meet, but maybe falling short or maybe going without health insurance. And it's important for me to put a face or a job to these folks. So this is your direct care worker. This is the person that's coming into your home or into one of your friends' homes to help them stay in community longer. This is a child care worker. I have a young son who's 9 months old, and we take him to child care every single day. And I know, because I've talked with the workers, that they aren't offered health insurance through their child care center. And so now they are eligible to actually receive the health care that they need. And then I'm also thinking about the people that clean your home. Maybe they come in or mow your lawn. These are the kind of folks that are working every single day that are now eligible for great health insurance through NC Medicaid. The Department of Health and Human Services has predicted that 600,000 people in North Carolina are now eligible for Medicaid. And the exciting thing is that 446,000 people have already gotten accepted into Medicaid. That is huge. And we've only been at this for 5 months. So we are well over 2/3 of the way there. But it's really important that we're talking about this. Maybe you are thinking yourself like, oh, maybe I'm now eligible. Or maybe my family member is eligible, maybe a friend is eligible. Have them go to healthcare.gov and they can start seeing if they're eligible for Medicaid and to apply. And I think the important thing is that Medicaid is also just not insurance. What we've seen in the last 5 months is that people are using this insurance. They're going to the doctor, they're getting prescription filled. In fact, 832,000 pharmacy prescription drug claims have already been paid. And these are for health needs such as heart disease, seizures, and other illnesses that are life-threatening if left untreated. So the people that have joined Medicaid now don't have to decide if they're going to use their paycheck to buy their prescription, pay their rent, or put food on the table. We've really reduced the stress, and I think that's hugely important. But you might be thinking, I'm 65 and older. Why does this actually matter to me? We know that preventative care lowers healthcare costs down the road. So this is lowering our potential cost in the future. Additionally, healthier older adults can be more productive and thrive longer in their community, which, we all love to be a part of our community. That's why you're here. That's why you showed up today. And we want to make sure that people have that opportunity. And we also know that Medicaid expansion is good for our economy. A healthy workforce is one that can show up every day and that can be here to support each other and to make our systems work. Additionally, a perk of Medicaid expansion is that we're also getting a bonus from the federal government of over $1 billion. And the North Carolina General Assembly decides how that's going to be spent, and they've entrusted $835 million of that to the Department of Health and Human Services. Immediately, we put it into effect. December 1st, we raised rates for Medicaid providers of mental health care so that it would equal Medicare. We really believe that this is going to drive more people, more doctors into the public domain so that they'll be taking care of more Medicaid patients. Over the next 2 years, we plan to spend the rest of the money. And I'm going to focus just quickly on the behavioral health care system improvements that we're looking at, particularly with the crisis system. So what we want to do is build the behavioral health crisis system the same way we do with the physical health crisis system. So if you're injured, if you have a heart attack, what happens? You call 911, an EMS comes, and they take you to the hospital, right? Okay, in the behavioral health system, you're having a mental breakdown, you're having a panic attack. What do? We want to have someone to call, someone to respond, and somewhere to go. So in the behavioral health crisis system that we're developing, we want you to call 988. That's like 911, but 988 is for your mental and behavioral health. Somebody's going to answer the phone and say, hey, how can I help you? What's happening? And you're going to talk them through what's going on. They're going to help you calm down, hopefully, and they're going to send someone to you. Someone's going to respond. And these are called mobile crisis response teams. It's not going to be a big ambulance. It's not going to stress you out. It's going to be someone or a team that comes in a car, and they're going to come into your home and really work with you about, hey, what's happening? How can we bring your stress level down? And then we want you to be able to go somewhere. These places are called facility-based crisis centers. A lot of times you don't want to be going into the emergency rooms. Those places are stressful. You want to be going into a facility that's really made for behavioral health issues. So that would be a facility-based crisis center or a behavioral health urgent care. Just like urgent care down the road where you need stitches for something quickly, a behavioral health urgent care allows you to come in, be stabilized for a few days, and then you can be transferred back to your normal doctor. So that's what we're trying to build with this bonus money that we have.
Well, thank you for that. And you said you have a 9-month-old at home. Did that same person tell you that babies were easy?
Yeah, he is easy often when he is asleep. He's also very easy when he laughs and giggles, and that's been a real joy. So it's been fun.
Yeah, I agree. So this is Older Americans Month. At least that's what Amber told me.
It is.
Yep. And the Older Americans Act is up for renewal this year. Now, while I know the Older Americans Act is approved by the U.S. Congress, I'm hoping you're in a good position to tell our audience what it is and the importance of the regulation update.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Older Americans Act is a vital piece of legislation in the United States that was enacted in 1965. And it was passed as a response to growing concerns about the well-being of older Americans and the need for comprehensive services to support their health and independence as they age. And we're hearing a lot about the act right now because it was reauthorized and it's going through regulation modernization. The program mandated by the act have evolved over time. So the programs that we deliver have evolved over time to address changing demographics, and our society is very different. But those program regulations haven't been updated since 1988. They're approximately me years old. So the federal government, yeah, right? It's literally me, almost me. So the federal government has now updated those rules with public input, and the new rules are going to go into effect October 1st of next year, 2025. By and large, the changes really just bring the program into the 21st century. They're clarifying definitions. They're helping us to prioritize people, focusing on our most vulnerable. And they're also allowing us to do things that we've learned over time. In COVID, we really learned about carry-out meals instead of having to come to one place or only having home-delivered meals. So this modernization is really just bringing us up to the work that you're doing, to the work that you experience every day. At the division, we structure much of our work around the work of the Older Americans Act. For instance, one important aspect of the Older Americans Act is the requirement to have a state aging plan. This is slightly different than our all ages, all stages, but don't worry, we're gonna start putting them together so we're not just planning. Anyway, North Carolina's plan serves as a roadmap for us to deliver services such as nutrition assistance, caregiver support, transportation, health promotion, and disease prevention for older adults. It helps us really think about how are we going to allocate our resources efficiently and effectively so that we can serve you. In North Carolina, the Division of Aging receives funding from our federal government about the Older Americans Act and our state government. And what we do is we send most of that money through to our area agencies on aging. The Area Agency on Aging plans with the county to decide what the limited funding for New Hanover County should go towards. And I do want to make sure that we put a little note that this funding is limited. It's not an entitlement program. Unfortunately, we can't serve everyone. But with extra funding, like we talked about from your county commission, we can serve many more people. New Hanover's Area Agency on Aging is called the Cape Fear Council of Government. Holly Pilson is back in the back. You can talk with her. She's your director of the Area Agency on Aging, and you can really talk to her about the prioritization that you would have or ways that we can serve you better. New Hanover's Master Aging Plan is prioritizing nutrition meals, health promotion, and other key service areas with your federal and state dollars. So that's just a little bit about the Older Americans Act. It really guides the work that we do, but at the Division of Aging, we do so much more. So there is more that we do to break down silos, make sure we're serving you as a whole person, and the Department of Health and Human Services also has our eye to you. One of our priorities in this legislative session is to make sure that we are serving older adults and people with disabilities better. You heard Senator Lee and Representative Butler talk about direct care workers. So one of the things that we are promoting this year is to increase the reimbursement rate to $18 an hour. These folks that do direct care work, they love their job, but they can't afford to do their job. And so how do we raise the rates so that they can continue to be such great supports to you and your loved ones while also making a living?
Great, thank you. And you said this, though, some of these rules that you have to update are me years old. I can't believe that they're already 23 years old. Well, Jill, thank you again for coming here and for sharing your thoughts with our audience today. And would it be okay if you gave her a nice round of applause? And if you'd like to have any parting thought, we welcome you to do that. And then our program is done.
Yeah, the Department of Health and Human Services is really excited about this legislative season. We really want to make sure that we're serving you all better and serving you effectively. So one of our big priorities is older adults. There's also a rural aging in place initiative that we're looking for to fund, which will increase the amount of funding that we can provide to local communities so that if an older adult needs work on their house, we can provide it so that they don't have to go to a congregate care setting. So those are just a few things, and I'd love to talk with you more about important stuff. But it's really been a pleasure to be here, to work with the Senior Center here, and also to serve you from the state. So thanks.
All right, well, thank you. And most importantly, thank all of you for coming out. You're our customers. And I've been around local governments in various capacities for, I'm at the point where I can't start talking about my own age. And this has been the first entity that refers to its citizenry as customers. And so I hope you take some heart in that, and that we do this for you. I don't show up to work for me. We get to do this on behalf of you. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you have a wonderful day.